Today I would like to talk about 10 red flags of financial abuse in a relationship with a narcissist. For a narcissist, money is power, whether that's in private or in business. It's to no surprise they often choose or even judge their partners by the amount of money they are making. They even make fun of you if you don't make enough or even belittle your financial accomplishments when you finally had success. Very few narcissists are good investors, but exceptions always prove the rule here. They tend to be obsessed with money and materialism. They are the ones who will reel you in with expensive gifts, vacations, a big house, or an exclusive lifestyle. They want to make you dependent on them quickly. The downside of this lifestyle is that they are also prone to attracting other narcissists who will take advantage of their money. And even those very few rich narcissists are very naive to give their money freely to them without anything in return. The majority of narcissists, though, tend to be very bad investors. It's especially the malignant type who exhibits all three traits of the dark triad, which are narcissism, psychopathy, and the exploitative Machiavellianism, who is prone to financially abuse their victims. They are parasitic in their approach to other people and have an enormous entitlement to their time and resources. What's theirs is theirs, and what's yours is theirs as well. Many of them have very poor financial management skills and are impulsive overspenders to soothe temporary pleasures. They engage in gambling, porn, prostitution, or drinking, and so on. They also fall for those get-rich-quick schemes because they don't want to work for their own wealth or can't hold a job. Long-term thinking that would provide them with stability in life is basically non-existent. That's why they need a partner who is financially stable to supply and support them. So what does financial abuse look like when you're with a narcissist? What are the red flags to look out for? First of all, as with any other narcissist, the relationship moves way too quickly. There isn't enough time to really assess the situation because they are already making you all these big promises and rush you into commitment and ultimately even marriage. Narcissists always tell on themselves by the speed they are moving, which is to manipulate and disable your intuition. The moment they realize you're fully committed to them is usually the moment when the mask comes off and all hell breaks loose. Next, they want to move in with you very quickly. And they will often do this under the guise of wanting to spend more time with you or having the opportunity to save money that way. Let me tell you, if you move in with a broke narcissist, they will be the only ones saving money in this situation because you'll be the one who ends up paying the rent and utility bills and whatnot. If, on the other hand, a more financially stable narcissist wants you to move in with them, they usually have the intention to trap and control you and make you their housewife. Personally, I wouldn't recommend a single person to ever buy a house for themselves alone, because you always end up being the one taken advantage of, especially if you're a woman. I've seen this with my previous landlady, who had one narcissist after another moving into her house upstairs, and they acted like they were the king of her castle. Point number 3. Narcissists will use triangulation to isolate you from your support system, your friends and family. Not only to gain power and control over you, but also so that you won't spend any more money on other people except for them. They may even get you as far as quitting hobbies, schools, or community work that you invested your time and money in. Number 4, and this is something that I've personally observed quite a few times. Narcissists will try to manipulate your family's will to control and take ownership of your family's assets and inheritance. And this goes hand in hand with the triangulation. I mentioned in a previous podcast how my former landlady's narcissistic partner pitted her against her siblings to the point she wanted nothing to do with her parents' inheritance anymore. So he advised her to receive an early payout from her siblings for the house that they would inherit one day. You can only imagine what he would have done with that money. Never take advice from a narcissist. The way they had been leading their lives before you met them is evidence enough they don't know how to make good choices in life. Which leads me to my next point. Narcissists will give you very bad and often selfish advice. They are smooth talkers and know all the right language to sound intelligent and responsible. But their financial advice is really bad and will ruin your life. They tell you to invest in the wrong places. They may even turn you into gambling addicts like they are. I remember my own ex-partner would advise me against taking professional courses that would advance my career or invest in crypto that I've never believed in. The more successful you become, the more independent you become as well. And that makes them lose their power over you. They want to keep you small and sabotage your progress in life. which is ironic because your progress would also mean more money and security for them. But as I said before, they don't think about long-term gain, but rather what it means to them in the moment, which is my point number 6. Are they future-oriented or living in the moment? And you need to discern whether them being future-oriented isn't just future faking and feed you an illusion. They might reel you in with all these fake promises of what your life could look like together. The country that you move to, the big house you're both living in, the family you will be raising, and so on. They will tell you whatever you want to hear just to get access to your resources, because maybe you've been feeling lonely for too long. Things you need to pay attention to: are they always keeping you confused and guessing where you're standing with them? Are they keeping you at an arm's length from friends and family? These are all indicators of future faking, as they don't really see a future with you. You are supplying them with something in the moment, and for the time being that's just good enough and works for whatever they need you for. In return, they will give you a good time here and there, and you think it's a display of consistency. No, it's not. It's purely transactional. Every relationship with a narcissist has an expiration date. It has already expired before you will even notice, because they usually monkey branch a lot of people and string them along as their backup plan, in case your financial safety net falls away for some reason. The next red flag you need to look out for is a display of entitlement. Are they expecting special treatment from you or others? Do they treat service personnel, like a waiter in a restaurant for instance, like garbage? It's something you should pay attention to on a first date, because their mask will slip a little in these moments. Don't get confused that this was only a mistake or they are in a bad mood that day. And by the way, they shouldn't be in a bad mood when they are with you anyway. It's just who they truly are. The way someone treats service personnel can tell you a lot about a person, because entitled and narcissistic people, they treat everyone else as if they were their pawns, and you will be the next. And don't get fooled if they act all humble in the beginning. The covert narcissist will always tell you what a humble person they are, and that they don't need much in life. I remember my own ex calling himself a minimalist, but he was simply too broke to buy himself stuff. Later, you will realize that their humbleness was a lie, and you will be confronted with all of that entitlement to your money and resources. And they just take and take with little to nothing in return. Like I said, for narcissists, relationships are purely transactional, but those transactions are mainly one-sided. Red flag number 8. And this is probably the most obvious that most people would associate with financial abuse. Let's talk about money per se. When a narcissist is directly after your money, there's usually a grooming process involved that builds financial trust in the other person. For instance, they may borrow smaller amounts of money from you and pay you back immediately to make you believe they are financially fluent and reliable, before they ask for the bigger amount and never repay you at all. Another thing they like to do is to get you hooked on a joint bank account really fast, or control your assets in other ways. If you have a business, they may even gradually take over your company. They may help you out with little tasks here and there, then take on more responsibilities, and lo and behold, you sign over your business to them. I've actually seen this happening at the very first company I used to work at when I was still in high school. I worked as a part-time web designer, and later it made a lot of sense to me why the wife, whom I was actually working for at her marketing company, wasn't communicating a lot with me. Her husband was a complete control freak and a malignant narcissist who was running another marketing company in the same office, and he would later take over hers. I checked on them many years later and saw that it was only her marketing company that has actually survived under his control. Many employee reviews confirmed his character, and years later I finally received the validation I needed to move on from this horrible experience. Also, in the rare cases narcissists are financially superior to you, they may withhold money from you and control your spendings. They have many double standards when it comes to spending habits and may tell you what to spend their or your money on and what not, while they can do whatever they want with it. Or they may manipulate you to sign contracts in your name to take full financial responsibility, for instance for a mortgage, and create debts to mess with your credit score. Another way narcissists tend to financially abuse their partners is by solely relying on their partner's income. Due to their often antisocial and self-sabotaging behavior, narcissists often don't have the ability to hold a job for too long, or they prefer gig work over a stable position to be more flexible and live their lives on their own terms. Not to forget to be more flexible to arrange their double lives and affairs that way. You quickly step into the caretaker role within your relationship and suddenly feel like the parent of some rebellious or irresponsible teenager who wants to go against the stream of societal norms. Now, one thing you need to keep in mind is that any situation you have going on with a narcissist will drain your energy and affect your physical and mental health as well. It's not uncommon for victims of narcissistic abuse to lose their jobs because they cannot focus at their workplace anymore, become very agitated, or start making mistakes. And the last point, how narcissists may financially abuse you, is not just by committing to marriage, as I mentioned in the very beginning, but also by having children with you, because that will keep you stuck with a narcissist until they are at least 18 years of age. To a narcissist, children are nothing but an extension of themselves, or often leverage to control, abuse, or blackmail their partners, in other words, the other parent, into a certain direction. Especially when it comes to divorce, narcissists often triangulate their children with the other parent, which should be avoided at all costs, because it's very traumatizing to a child to carry the emotional burdens of their parents, or even be used to emotionally abuse or blackmail the other parent. Many times you hear people say, yes, he was abusive, but he's still the father of our children. Or the mother, of course. I know to many outsiders this may be a confusing statement to hear, but in cases where the narcissistic parent is not directly abusive toward their children, you need to create a neutral environment for them to not get sucked into the chaos their parents are experiencing. But when it comes to the financial responsibilities of a divorce, narcissists may refuse to pay child support, and they may even go to great length to achieve this. For instance, they may hide money from you or pretend to have an illness that makes them unable to work and pay for it. Once a victim has been depleted of their financial resources, narcissists will often discard them and move on to a new victim they have been grooming in the background all along. They always need this type of security in their lives and also have no qualms about returning to a former victim once they have rebuilt their resources and financial security. It is recommended to keep a separate savings account and a certain financial independence at all times and not fully rely or depend on another person. So yeah, these were the 10 red flags as to how narcissists may financially abuse their partners in a relationship with them. They commit really, really fast. They want to move in with you quickly. They isolate you from your friends and family to not waste your money on them. They manipulate your family's inheritance. They may give you bad advice to make the wrong choices and investments in your private or professional life. They show entitlement to special treatment and your resources. They take your money directly out of your pocket. They mess with their or your employment status. And finally, they use your own children as leverage to financially exploit you. Thank you very much for listening. Stay safe and have a great day.